Dobre utra, universe. And if you speak any Russian, I hope I just said good morning to you. If you don't speak any Russian, well then I just said good morning to you in Russian. Dobre utra, I believe. And I don't know if it needs that Klingon sounding at the end. I think that's just some of my American misappropriation of the Russian kind. Or maybe I'm wrong there. First of all, there are 24 minutes that will be somewhere after this part that were recorded before this part that I actually get sidetracked in my insecurity statements and forget to tell you what actually makes me insecure and use an example of what I'm talking about past the insecurities in my insecurity moment. Yeah, I mean, the reason I like listening to this is because I actually know who I am. And I actually have lived with myself my whole life. So when I hear myself just spewing shit into the universe that has no containment mechanism whatsoever, well, some of what comes out is fascinating. And because there is so much of this that is just spoken and never ever revisited, I am here in my insecure moments to address what I think you, what can I call you? Angelic? No, that's not fair. The committed, and I don't mean that in the sense that you need to be committed, but your commitment to overcoming my obstacles, it's revolutionary. Because I don't know if anyone has ever presented less accessible content in a generalized format with no specific audience of intent whatsoever, except one mystical character who I have been convinced in my dreamland needs to hear what I have to say. So that audience member being someone completely unknown to me and being someone of possibly my own fantastical creation, well, that leaves me rather unequipped to successfully grow my channel on YouTube. And since apparently that's what you do with your channel, you make it grow. Yeah, I don't know if you have to water it or fertilize it or if you just put it in sunlight and it just starts growing. But yeah, you want to grow your YouTube channel. So I hear. Pause. Pause. Well, to completely recircle back to my opening clumsiness of this episode, which I've already opened once, probably not as clumsily, but because there's so much clumsiness coming after that, it probably is going to be sent to the back room and become some sort of finishing moment of denouement that you can choose to skip. Frankly, you can choose to skip this entire enterprise, right? In fact, here are some of the things that I consider my channel killing behaviors that are just never going to change. And the idea of getting a subscriber count on YouTube above 1,000 is terrifying to me. It's frightening beyond I mean, no. If I want to say something to 1,000 people, I'll send them an invitation to meet me down at the gymnasium where I can get a megaphone and we can have a conversation. But the idea of having a virtual audience to whom you are, what is that? Is that you would be inversely arranged interest groups? Okay, here's the thing. Just like I have listened or read actually an article about the number of methods you can go about improving your podcast, and found them all to be mostly how to be more listenable in audio clarity, In other words, this whole article was about, well, you want to soundproof your walls so that there's no echoing of your voice against hard surfaces. Okay. Well, other than the bed that I'm sitting on, well, lying on is more fair. It is nothing but hard surfaces everywhere we look, including my red. Oh, those abs are coming in. But my point is, I am not going to. What am I going to not? I'm not going to put up a bunch of styrofoam padding in my closet area where I sink in some sort of backless knee bend chair to get myself into the proper positioning acoustically so that my voice resonates in perfect timbre according to whatever audio engineer is willing to go this far to give a shit. What I do care about is how much distracted ruckus I create when I'm recording. That is annoying as I won't say it, YouTube, but even I know how poor that performance is. So having done it and now having to correct it, well, I'm not perfect, but I realize there are two major things for me to do if I want to ensure, well, three actually, if I want to ensure that what I say can be understood because it's audible and clear. That is, stop touching my fucking phone. Don't handle the phone. I really should stop using the pause button because that just creates bad habits. It's like letting the members of Congress trade on insider stock information. Once you tell them it's okay to break a few rules, well, how many rules do you think they're going to fucking respect? So anyway, because I still find the pause button to be a necessity to keep my decorum somewhat separated from your clean and uncontaminated space, well, I don't need to be coughing in your face. I don't need to be blowing my nose into the carpet like a farmer. And I don't need to be, and I don't actually do that. I mean, rumor might say that I do, but the cat's dead now, so who's talking, right? I didn't kill my cat, by the way. Well, yeah, I guess I kind of did. I haven't thought about Kitty for a while. Okay. Hi, Frankie. Bye, Frankie. What got me off? Oh, so the responsibilities for listenability that are my Pigpen and Tasmanian Devil aura, well, yeah, much work to do, much improvement to be recognized on that journey. Many pats on the back for making the little baby steps we're making, like putting our phone currently, hang on, got to drink a little water, having the phone propped up on a soft surface so that if I do touch it, it doesn't make a racket from the case rattling, and with the microphone angled up at me. And this, I have discovered, makes a huge difference in listening, is the direction I point my phone. Because if I put it on my headboard, which is the least likely place for me to disrupt it, well, the only way it can actually position there is for the microphone to point either directly left or right of me, and it's just not as easy to hear, period. So my whole point here is, even in the ways that I refuse to even give a shit about my production here, because to even call it production is ridiculous. I hit record on my fucking Samsung Galaxy S8 phone and off we go. So that is the untethered nature of me saying it's my way or it's not going to happen. Because the original concept that I said you'll never see because they're locked away in embarrassing drawers of self exposure. What was I doing with Lily? I don't even know. But when those concepts were failing, it was very easy for me to say, well, the reason they're failing is because I can see myself in a performance. I've always, I don't consider myself still today not a compulsive liar. I haven't told a lie, I don't think, in 7 years, 8 years. It's been a long time. And I've told so many truths now that I'm done for the most part, having to confess the reality of me in a way that if I ever decide that I am somehow obscuring who I am or failing to live up to the standard whereby I expect to be kind, understanding, and forgiving, well, that's what this project really is. This is my, excuse me, pause, unpause. All right. I think the point I was trying to make was that even with these variables of non-compromise, as it were, that exist in terms of my interaction and willingness on the channels of interaction toward the universe at large, what I'm willing to do, I'm always thinking, am I doing it my way in the most accessible, receptive, listenable, audio clarity does matter to me, and least annoying fashion possible. On the least annoying part, I would give myself maybe a D, if not a flat out F. And that's where there's a ton of room to improve. The downside is that the room there is to improve is stuff like, I need to stop handling a lot of loud, crinkly shit in the background, or just anything at all that can overwhelm my voice as I'm speaking. And I just think of this whole process as if you're sitting on the corner of the bed there and we're just having a conversation. I might not even be necessarily looking at you. I might walk into the other room and get something and keep talking. And so, yeah. When it comes to killing a YouTube channel, I believe audio of some interpreted negative capacity is, if not first on the list, second on the list. First on the list might be poorly cameraed video. And that's another reason that I'm really glad that this is nothing but my Samsung Galaxy S3, 4, 5, 8. What am I on? 8. This recording app has been the same app since my Galaxy S2. And so it is as simple a situation of me being me as I can provide. If I sit lazily on my bed where I have this entire notebook filled with both jokes and thoughts of the universe, and then I also have this like spiral notebook full of them. I got this random sheet. I got all these junk mail envelopes I've written shit on. That's that stack. Here's some catalog where I wrote a whole bunch of shit on the back page there. I mean, this is how I do life. I just figure if I've got something of interest in the moment that I'm liable to lose, I'll just write it down somewhere and then get back to it. And the way this recording has evolved, it's basically just embodying my life in action. In the chunk of recording that will follow this, I will speak to a quarrel I'm having personally about how much I can speak on behalf of females themselves. And it's not that I can't speak on behalf of your situation in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of ways I can speak about women that I think are legit, but I can't speak about women as what is the general greatest insecurity you find among women? Is it the sense that as they grow older, they will lose their looks? I mean, and I'm not trying to, like I'm saying, I have no idea. I have no idea. Just like I don't know if when a woman says, I want to get this done, I think it gets done. Like, I could be wrong there. Maybe there's a lot of shit that women say they're going to get done that doesn't get done. Like, but I totally think of that as a guy thing, right? And so, and so what I have done in the first 2 years of this during March Madness season is put together a Sweet 16 bracket of my own. One was, last year's was reasons to quit your job. And I don't remember what the first year was. I think it was something like, if I think it was something like, I'll actually start to think and remember it. So at some point, I'll let you know. But last year's, I happened to quit my job spontaneously right in March. And so I put down 16 reasons why you might quit your job, from getting promoted to retiring to discovering a new career that means more to you. There were a lot of ways you might quit your job. And so I found 16 of them. They competed to get to the final victory, which I won't hold you to going to listen to it, but it was because I fucking wanted to, which I've now done 5 times. And I gotta say, is pretty much the best way to quit a job, because you just fucking want to. It just got to be the kind of job that you're like, fuck this job. So you went in and said, you know what? Fuck this job. I quit. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's the way you should do it. I'm not even saying that you should use the words I just used if you choose to do it. But for me, it's one way that, well, the give and take, contentious nature of my relationship with work generally in America as it's positioned to us, fulfillment through what gets paid around here is just not of interest to me. How can I put this? Because this is what my friend thinks I'm soft about, is the fact that I will live with a $30 bank account. This is reckless and obscene to most people. And to me, it's like, well, what if I told you I only actually have $19 because I spent $12? Yeah. So, at some point, and so how can I viably exist in a society ruled by measurement and standards of accumulation and wealth retention in a capacity of almost homeless? And when I speak of almost homeless, I speak too of the situation in which I was. Well, there has never been an opportunity for me to buy the house I'm living in, although that was kind of the plan the entire time. And what's happened is, as I left Colorado to go live life, my sister, through some of my mishaps, left and came back earlier than I did. And then in having more grounding here in Colorado with my parents, they helped her find her first house, helped her buy her first house. That's the house I live in. And so my sister has owned this house since 2003, I think. No, maybe earlier, 2001. And I've lived in it since 2003. And since, I want to say 2018, probably 2019, somewhere in there. Actually, no, because I was working. So call it 2021 for sure. Going forward, I basically have paid no rent. Now, all of the properties among the family are paid off. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't expenses and everything else. And this house, being neglected as it is, might have the most upkeep costs of all. But it is a luxurious situation in today's America to be in a situation to live rent-free in your own domicile, and to do so without any sense of sponginess. And this is what my friend truly wanted to drill down on me, and didn't quite get there. I know that's where she wanted to go, and she just She was being too nice. When people criticize me, it's almost always the same critique. I'm just not serious, or I live in a world that doesn't exist. I play with concepts of day-to-day living that are immature, if not outright comical. And I don't know that I disagree with those critiques necessarily, depending on how you've earned your critique. But I am, in one way, very serious toward the world. And that is in my expectation that I'm not only not hindering your chance to manifest in the greatness that is you here on Earth, 8675309 version, right now, but that I'm in some way or another kind of supporting that, if not encouraging it. And that's the part that nobody likes, which is why I thought if I can use these recording sessions to crystallize, or that's not the right word, to fully understand who the version of me today is and what the motivations I seek in terms of repairing humanity's tattered soul, how those can be expressed in short and non-threatening as well as non-alienating concepts to people both who know you well and who you just met. So having to go through 470 episodes now to hear all the wandering and mishap that those conclusions center themselves upon. Well, I can always say that if I'm living a life that is whimsical or indulgent or soft or pampered or cared for, I don't know how else you could perceive me as being like a trust fund kid. Sheltered even, maybe. An easy life filled with non-threatening, non-serious, or non-gritty life considerations. And so one of the things that I definitely know she wasn't privy to were some of my real grittiest moments. And I shared one with her. And I think also, while I may represent something now that seems almost Muppet friendly in its simplicity of life, having been twisted up enough in the version of life that America threw me into, to have written suicide notes. And while I don't have, in that moment, I realized how little courage I truly have to take care of a situation as I saw it needing to be cared for. Well, it also puts me in a reflective moment of always thinking that, yes, today is a day to be celebrated, but more than anything, it's a day to see where the world is hurting and offer help. And I don't know that anybody could have helped me in that circumstance come to a conclusion that was better than the one that I was arriving at. But my sister fell into that role, and undeservedly, unexpectedly, and certainly not in any way invited. But as we do for family in situations of need, we man up. We rise to the occasion. We take a bullet for our sister if it comes down to it, because she's already taken one for me. So, and not literally, but you know what I mean. And when it's a competition of how much life's disruption got to you, I can tell stories that, at least in terms of white middle-class American, never having been in the armed forces, the military, the government, or any of corporate America. Well, other than Home Depot clerk in the garden department, that doesn't count. Actually, it kind of counts, but it is. But okay, if we want to talk about how society can break you, I think I can compete. But I also know that my version of brokenness was the catalyst to the strength that is in me now. I came to Earth to break. I didn't know this until I had recovered from the brokenness that I was and understood that in a world filled with liars and those unwilling to stand up for their own misgivings, that I had to have at least a rap sheet to compete in order to have enough credibility in their universe to find them and talk to them directly. And all of the mismanagement of my middle years, including career attempts and whatever other initiative I may have shown, it was always a holding pattern to get me here. And nothing of what I am destined to achieve on planet Earth has anything to do with traditional models of some other accomplishments that are on the high school wall, counselor board when you're thinking about what you're going to do after high school. And it doesn't mean that I don't look back and think, what would I have done with a life if all I had chased was, say I had gotten married and somehow managed to have kids survive and had 3 kids when I was 29. Where does my life go? Well, it goes in a completely different direction, because now, instead of the only mildly attentive need in this universe that gets my attention being me, well, I'd have an accountability to a life bigger than mine. Like, I would immediately be in the back seat, because all priorities for this group now supersede anything that matters about me. That is not the me that is here. That is not the me that was supposed to be here. And if that had been the me that got here, that me might have succeeded pulling the trigger. Not that I had a gun, but that me would have found at some point that life so insufferable that I would have either abandoned it or exited it in a less favorable condition. It was me trying to fit into that mold that broke me. And I didn't understand any of this even as it was happening. But the distance from it now and the recognition of just what sent me where and how, I can see myself, number one, not being able to admit who I really am, what I should be doing, trying to live up to the expectations of a societal superstar instead of just being me. And 2, that I never talk to people about the old me. And when people only know the new me, well, yeah, I can see where you think I'm a fucking Muppet. But I believe this world is meant to be lived in a generally, I won't go so far as to say gonzo mindset, but more like like maybe the Swedish chef. He always seems like he's pretty much upbeat and having a good day. I don't believe in an existence in which there aren't all good days. And I think other people believe that isn't taking life seriously. But to me, trying to get to that position is maybe the most serious pursuit I have in life for all of us. So when this project is making me feel insecure because I may have left some of my more not to be broadcast with a megaphone thoughts out there than I should have. And in fact, sometimes will even find myself speaking to women in a respectful way about something that I'm trying to make a point about, and then forget that I was doing that and never get back to it. Or anybody else, enter an audience of your choice here. I do feel a level of refinement at this point is necessary. And I'm not even, why am I uncomfortable with this? I'm uncomfortable with this because it doesn't need to be here. Like I could have just put these recordings in a drawer. And I could have, did I need to? I did need, I will say, before I even had done the video stuff with Lily, I did many a blog. And I came to understand my problem with the written word as a method of exposure, personal exposure. There is a craft to writing that doesn't exist in this conversation that I use subconsciously driven, whatever I'm thinking about comes next, method of who I am, what I'm up to, and why the world is broken. It is, let's see, let's start making a list of all the ways that I break YouTube's policies. Not their, well, I break all their policies too, and I am fascinated that I'm not off YouTube already. Some of my videos have been up for 2 years. I don't count those because I believe in setting the first 125 videos on a channel on YouTube. I did it all in like a 3-day binge upload marathon session. And making the videos themselves took anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes. And if I fucked one up, 2 hours. That it was just, it was the kind of work that you really had to pay attention to, at least initially, before you had enough of a rhythm to know when you might be making a mistake in real time. But it was so much effort compared to what I figured my channel's potential life viability in YouTube's universe had become with censorship and everything else happening. It just didn't seem like something I needed to continue. And I also started finding the YouTube universe more and more annoying after having been one of its biggest fans in its second or third year of incarnation. And through what, 20, probably 15, 14, 16, somewhere in there is when YouTube really lost their way. But now they're just a joke, right? I mean, what I find hilarious is how much I feel like, I don't think I can even speak for women and what might be insecure about them or what might be annoying about them. Yeah, I might not want to talk about these categories, but YouTube likes to talk to me about what it thinks I need to know all the fucking time. And right now, you know what YouTube's putting in its little queue for me? Yeah. Ways to improve your YouTube channel. If your YouTube channel only has 6 subscribers, well, maybe you should watch this video on how to get to 1,000 so that we can monetize you. Pause. Unpause. All right, so now that I have a pin, okay, so monetization, definitely something my channel will suffer in that I do not care about monetization. And it interests me that there are people out there who are just trying to create viewership, to create income, regardless of the trigger whereby that viewership and income must lay to make this situation of compensation possible. In other words, if somebody wants to put out there the 15 most annoying things about Ford F-150 trucks, and then finds that video go viral, and then becomes an entire channel dedicated to the 15 most annoying things about every vehicle you can name, well, I can see how maybe that started with one guy's disappointment in his own Ford truck and has blossomed into a critique of the universe of substandard engineering and mechanical attention in today's vehicles. I don't know. I ride a bike. Cars today probably are kick-ass. But if you see the sort of growth of somebody into something of a phenom in a way that it just was there and realized, I think those stories are actually really cool. But if you're on YouTube trying to craft a niche for your Madden commentary stuff, even being a huge fan of Madden, at least on the PlayStation, I've never played it on the Xbox or any other form. Actually, I played it on the PC, but let's just call me a PS3 Madden player. When I got a roommate named Patrick, Patrick loved Madden as well, but Patrick's version of playing Madden was all about creating the most powerful franchise possible. In other words, maxing out your characteristics for every player to 100 so that you were so dominant on the field that you win games 94-0. And you do it in 5-minute quarters. You are the alien robot version of Madden, and every team that you play in some way, shape, or form is completely inferior to your dominance. And I found this interesting that you would put that kind of time in, because to build your season players to that level takes some actual play. And so he would play the entire season with coordinated exchange of players in positions to cultivate certain skills even, and bring them to this dominant perch, and then just throttle everyone in the league until the next Madden came out, and he'd do it all over again. And he'd been doing this since he was like in high school, every year. And so 10, 12 years running, he's now a pro at this. And actually, I had never played anything but, I probably played through the Broncos season once or twice, but I always just play Madden by playing the computer or a buddy. I never think of any of that, like the career stuff or whatever else, developing the franchise. No, I just play the video game. And so for him to have taken this much interest in that other level of the game, that other part of the experience, it gave us a lot of Madden texture that was, in my opinion, interesting. I mean, we would discuss play execution in Madden as we watched NFL. I even do it with my dad still. Like, I don't know if you grew up thinking football through Madden, you got to know quite a bit about the game. At least I did. And I consider Madden to be by far that which taught me the most about football. Well, although Tony Romo could take that position over. Oh my God, does he know football? Have you ever seen a commentator call out the next play as often as Tony Romo does? He does it a lot, and he's 95% right. I mean, that's impressive. Oh, I have a man crush on Tony Romo. I'm here to admit it today. I will admit it. And he's a good looking dude. I'm not even saying I am impressed by Tony Romo's, who he is. I'd only seen him interviewed either in Dallas Cowboy paraphernalia or next to Jessica Simpson. So what did I think of Tony Romo? A lot what I think of Brett Favre, which couldn't have been more wrong. So I'm sorry, Tony. And I am I'm sure you have a fan club, but if you need an older man fan club, you probably don't need that. Well, I can't imagine what I could do for you, Tony Romo, but I would do it for you. I mean, again, I'm just saying you are, to me, one of football's brightest future stars. And so stay at it, young man, or however old you are. We're probably, well, no, we're not the same age. Shit, what are you, 35, 40? Those are good years, Tony. Enjoy them. But my point is, even though that would have been, say, something that we might have had a conversation that we put on a video that then went into the YouTube universe and caught enough attention of other people like me who were like, yeah, franchise mode? What, like the ownership stuff? Like decking out the locker room? Yeah, no, I've never done that. Well, if you have never done that because you just think that sounds boring or not what video games are, is let's see, spreadsheet management, or anyway. But if there's a crowd who embraces that, well then I think you have the makings of a YouTube channel about the true depth of sporting franchises and the nuance of what's available in, say, those soccer franchise video games that are played in Europe that are almost more that than the actual play. It's like team management. So my point here is, if all your existence on YouTube is to find something that is of the moment enough that you can get viewers to come watch your video, no matter how much you're giving time and energy to that project, it's not about you. It's about viewership. It's about getting enough eyeballs to get more money. And okay, that's not even something I have a problem with. It's just, that's kind of what ruined YouTube. That's the direction it all went. Well, the censorship ruined YouTube. But what became the standard influencer / popular channel / Mr. Beast, what you have on YouTube are people who are now masters at keeping your attention in the moment. I mean it. And they're masters at it. The editing that is done now on YouTube is such a hyper attention level of stimulation that sometimes it's hard for me to watch. If you ever want to know what old TV is like, it is like, it's just slow. It is deliberate. There's a lot of time where nothing's happening. I mean, that's how life was. It was a lot less amplified and a lot less agitated and a lot less attention challenging. In other words, what your attention was on, you generally had a good chance of it staying on because something wasn't going to interrupt it and demand that your attention come here next. Unless, I mean, that's all new. That didn't exist. If you were out in the backyard and you were 9 and you were doing something, you were going to finish it and it was going to be the only thing you were thinking about until it was done. And you weren't going to reach into your back pocket to see if somebody had just texted you. Oh, no, that wasn't, whose phone was that? Am I hearing things now? Wait, I better check my phone. Maybe I missed that text. And I think when I say that I feel now like I'm more myself when I was 10 than anything else, it's because I do miss having my attention be mine. It's not anymore. My attention is being demanded of by everybody and everything whenever I am in a position to allow that to happen. And part of what has allowed me to stay in this house in such alone circumstances without ever feeling lonely is how much here the universe doesn't yell at me. I have my space here to be exactly who I've always been. I'm the only one who is talking to me here, and nobody's asking me what the fuck I'm doing or what I'm going to do. I am at peace. And and when when my friend was challenging me and my soft version of living, I thought, okay, but would you change? And I didn't say this, but would you change places with me? Like, why do you want your life? When I look at everyone else's life, it looks awful to me. And even across the street's basically your 2020 power family. And they're great. They're great. But boy, are they frantic. I mean, they're fucking on the go all the time. Like, it is an active goddamn property over there. And that's 2 kids in high school, which is exactly what my family was. It is double time compared to me 40 years ago. And I don't know that's rush, the demand that your attention have 15 different variables in play at all times. I 46 minutes and 22 seconds into this part of the recording can tell you that my attention is precious to me, so precious that when it's being demanded of, my first reaction is, get the fuck away from me. No, don't beep at me. What is that light blinking at me? Ugh. And so if I'm soft because I feel like the achievement that America puts in front of you is as much an enticement to make sure that you keep working and contributing to an economy of House of Cards like structure, and the more of that is bought into, the less that House of Cards threatens to be blown down. But as soon as people unplug and realize that there's a completely different way to live, $30 in your bank account to me means I probably have enough money to get through a couple weeks. That's all $30 is to me, is enough sustenance for me to buy food. And unless bananas take an exorbitant spike in their actual costs, if I have to, I'll just eat bananas for a week, and that would cost me like $15. So I feel like if your opinion of what you're here to do has nothing to do with achievement, but has all to do with experience, well then, I don't know how by default you don't end up living with as much free time and simple, uncommitted to other people life as you can get. And if that doesn't describe my life, no commitments, simple, and I'll even go soft. I want my life to be soft. I like my abs to be hard, but I don't need my life to be hard. I would prefer that my life be soft. I prefer your life be soft. Maybe you want a hard life, but if you do, why? Why? Why do you want to work so goddamn hard for somebody else? Why? Pause. Unpause. Which I suppose is kind of the best transition to get through these thoughts about why my instincts in terms of communication are channel killing mistakes for YouTube. And another reason that I realize now I don't have to worry about being on YouTube. YouTube doesn't have the patience for me. There is nobody on YouTube who's going to listen to this all the way through. It's not going to happen. And that's just today's reality. This long form, monotonous, tedious as fuck conversation it is as anachronistic as the rotary phone. People may still understand it, and people may even in some ways still think there's room for that level of communication to have value in 21st century America. But I also believe more people would come down saying, yeah, that's not my thing. I also don't watch silent movies, nor do I engage in butter churning. There are things that once you live in a universe where you didn't have any familiarity with the the concept in the first place, well, then you really don't even want to get to know what it is so that you can decide whether or not you don't like it, because you already have too much going on. So nobody in the universe of 8675309 Earth is going to find me on YouTube. So that makes me think, well, can I stay low enough on the radar so that I don't get deleted? Like, am I always going to be on YouTube? Oh, I don't know. I mean, that rubs me the wrong way. That's like if I were to take a job with, say, Facebook to go censor content. It's just like, I'm a free speech absolutist. I can't go do that. Even if I get paid so I can buy myself tuna fish and bananas. But it is enough of a life decision for me to be in this position of Muppet simplicity that I found it interesting that somebody thought of that as off-putting. And I can see it as a guy. Like, I can get that you don't want a guy to fuck you who bops around the universe like Gonzo the Great. Or no, it's more like, if I were a Muppet, I wouldn't be Kermit because he's too organized and gets too much shit done. But Grover, I think Grover is about where I'm at. I know he's Sesame Street, but he's also Muppets. So, and if it's not Grover, then it's Miss Piggy. But that's between me and my still issues on working out. Now, speaking of working out, and not of my abs, but one of the things that I had to work out while figuring the mechanism whereby to contain myself was, what should my episode structure even look like? And to me, that still doesn't exist. There is no episode structure, obviously. It's just what I want to think about and talk about on any given day. And so what it really is either a diary or a confession or both, or in some more generous description, you could say this is me attempting to document a phase of lucidity in my life as a necessary flagpole for me, should I ever feel that lucidity slipping, to reference back to for the strength and support that being this person in this embrace of myself has become. I love myself and my life. I don't want them to in any way start to slip or slide into a position where I don't recognize everything that I appreciate about myself right now. And given that my history says that's possible, and given that this country seems fucked up enough for that to get possible, well, here I am. And forever will I be able to find some level of self-correction and self-support by listening to some of what I've got here. Clarity, not clearly verbalized. What I've got here in clarity and consciousness that feels so fundamental to who I am, that if I ever start to feel like I'm losing touch with that, well, I can come right back here and find it. So that, if it were to stay up on YouTube, would also make it easy to find it if I was ever in, say, Sri Lanka, because I could just go to YouTube and be like, oh, look. I mean, I'm just, for hosting issues and other shit that, in the future, like if I'm 70 in Sri Lanka and I want to listen to this shit, well, I can imagine that would be tough because it wouldn't necessarily be on a thumb drive. And so let's do the channel killing mistakes and then I'm done. Okay. Number one, I'm never trying to get your attention. I don't even know if you're here. I don't even know who you are. The idea that one of the things you have to determine if you're going to be successful on YouTube is who your audience is and how to talk to them. Okay. Here's what I have to say to my audience. If you're listening, and if you are, you're 54 minutes into this thing. Are you fucking kidding me? You've been doing something right. Honestly. And if you're listening to anything that I've said previously, you shouldn't be 54 minutes of life into this, because you should have double timed me, if not more, because I speak slowly. So if you get me sped up, it's basically all the same information, just at a normal conversational pace, instead of me going, and Grover? Yeah, that Muppet. I mean, I will pause and find the right word, or fail to, in enough circumstances that you should speed me up. I'm serious. So 55 minutes and 32 seconds of spoken word for you should be somewhere in about the 25-minute range of having gone through this episode. And that's if you listen to everything. I doubt you did. In fact, I'm almost certain you didn't. Because another thing that YouTube would say is of value is to make sure that you aren't giving your listener reasons to think that they may not be getting closer to you or identifying with you deeper and deeper. Building relationships is what YouTube's all about. You want your audience to feel like they have come to boy, this is where the leaky egos start to show up, and I can't scream through the phone, hey buddy, you're just telling people that, yeah. This is the part where you can see the adulation of the idea that there is an audience that wants to hear from you getting to people. And in subtle ways. This isn't even with ill intent. As a matter of fact, this is so much not with ill intent that in other environments, this is actually very healthy. And something everybody gets to experience is the joy of having others be interested in them on a large scale. And the fact that we're so compartmentalized here in the ways that we're even able to act publicly, well, there is no sense of that. All of our public persona is either some sort of veneer of don't fuck with me, or some sort of getting through whatever you need to get through as seamlessly as possible, so as little gets fucked up out here while we're out here as possible. And I get both kind of 21st century energies, but for me, I enjoy being out in the public sphere because it's where the unexpected happens, and it's where everybody who's awesome happens to be commingling. And now that everyone went through the mask phase and people have basically just stopped looking at each other, even speaking to each other, I walk by people on the sidewalk and say good morning and good afternoon and hello and hey, love your dog, and all kinds of shit to people. And it almost always surprises them. And now I even make sure that I'm not saying something to somebody with earbuds in who can't even hear me, because, well, it is the 21st century. And frankly, if you want to say good afternoon to me, sir, fuck off. Pause. Pause. So much like I might say good afternoon to somebody walking their dog crossing the sidewalk with me, I will continue doing that for the rest of my life. Even if I'm the last person who thinks that's appropriate, I will always think it's appropriate. I'll always think it's me showing you that I, in fact, see you, respect you, and feel like your presence is of value, even in this passing, fleeting moment of life that we will share. And that isn't my attitude on YouTube or in these recordings, and never was. There's a reason this is a podcast. And the reason it is not video is because in video, your full attention is commanded. You have a screen and activity and listening. There's a whole engagement there, very similar to like if something's going on in that other room and you're just looking out from the hallway to see what the ruckus is. That's what YouTube is. And that's not who I am. I mean, I could be, but I'm here to be vulnerable, to be exposed, to be emotional. I have no idea if I could even watch myself breaking down. I have a couple of photos I've taken of myself because I'm sobbing uncontrollably and I don't know why. Like, I've been through some trippy ass shit when it comes to the last 10 years. And it it got to the point where I wanted at least validation of this metamorphosis in my life through accountability of all the gymnastics mentally I feel like I've put myself through. And not that I've put myself through it. The universe has put me through it. I have been as if some army recruit of the least valuable kind, forgotten about in some storage shed, who had been asleep for 35 years, and all of a sudden some lioness-looking taskmaster starts kicking my ass about the shit I'm not getting done in my dreamland. And in many ways, even if that's some delusional, fantastical recreation of character for myself to tell myself things I need to hear so I get my shit together and get some stuff done in life, well, that is another component to the documentation herein. Is there are things I have now directionally in my life as needing to get done, and I don't mean like becoming the editor of the New York Times. I mean, there is evil, and I use that word, I guess, with intent. I don't know another word to put there. There is evil manifesting and emerging among the intentions of our populace in ways that have never existed. And while there will be some level of public accountability to this, it will be mild compared to the level of true accountability that has been that exists. And it's the true accountability level that I need to be able to dismantle. And I know I say something like this, and this sounds like I don't know what it sounds like, but I actually know how this is all going to go down. I just have no capacity in which to speak to it. So, in living a soft life, I also envision a very hard future. And so part of the reason that I can somewhat be self-indulgent with my presence of life and not feel underachieving in the process is I know what achievement lies on the immediate horizon. So with our full humanity now in play and being tested, I can't think of a time when achievement and accomplishment had more to do with your fellow human and their experience in this reality than it does today. And it has absolutely nothing to do with what your vice president responsibilities at the Gates Rubber Company. None of that matters. I mean, it does to you, so I won't call it irrelevant for your life. But I promise it's the least important thing that's going on down here. Like the other reasons that I can't possibly grow my subscriber count on YouTube. Because number one, I don't want to. Why do you think I tell you in these recordings to go do something better with your life? I don't even really want you to be here. So if you're here, then you're here for reasons that are particular to you. And while I can appreciate that there is a level of communication that may be somewhat what I would think it would be mentally tranquilizing and to have me droning on in the background so you can tune me out. That's what I would use me for, like white noise, so that I can really concentrate on the thing I'm doing over here. But to each their own. And obviously, if I'm putting this out in the universe, I know somebody's going to hear it. And I appreciate any listener who would even participate on the level at which they are distractedly using me as white noise so that they can get other shit done. Because that means at least they're getting some shit done. And that's all I'm saying. Your life won't have purpose unless you're doing some stuff that matters to you. So it has never mattered to me to be on YouTube, nor does it matter to be monetized through a viewer count and some sort of product placement ad. No, I don't. I have a Patreon account for reasons. Because if I did, people might actually put money in it. And then I would be like, what are they doing? People are weird. So what I give to the universe in this momentous expression of self-love, well, I would think the very notion of expecting some compensation in return would at least bring a little filth into that relationship, don't you think? I mean, if every time we're going to do it, you have to pay for it, I'm going to feel a lot like a prostitute. I mean, yeah, you can leave $20 on the dresser like a gentleman, but don't ask me how much, okay? And here's another thing. The titling is annoying to the point where I wanted to change it. And it's not that I wanted to change how I titled the episodes, because I kind of like that I just end it with something and then I'm done. Because there's a finality to it that almost arrives without me knowing it, but as soon as I've said something, I know I'm done. And that moment of spontaneous originality, because I've never seen anyone else with such an asinine naming structure. Well, the truth is, the reason I didn't edit the titles and put, for instance, episode 13, season 6 in front, at least something that would give some order to the whole thing, instead of just expecting people to figure it all out. Well, podcasting universes, that all just happens. But in YouTube land, it's like you got to craft that shit. You got to have your channel. You know, you got to, there's a whole bunch of goddamn management. And again, if you're in the environment and there are tools at your disposal that can make the entire thing a lot more accessible to anyone who would be interested in exploring the depth of your content, don't you at least owe them a basic level of organization so that they can navigate properly through the splatterblast of nonsense crap you've created? I do think that. I really do. And which is why I don't want to be on YouTube, because then I got to do that. But because YouTube thinks I'm not doing that, they keep putting in front of me ways to improve your YouTube channel. Did you know that you have in Google Analytics these things? And it's like, I know I did digital marketing for 9 years. I'm very well aware of all of the actual Google tools and how to use them, including I could give you a seminar on YouTube Analytics as well as Google Analytics. But I have no interest in micromanaging what isn't here to be micromanaged, which is this. So if I was in fact trying to use the nuanced niche sort of marketing strategies so I could find that little part of my Madden commentary that's unique from all other thousands of Madden commentary channels, yeah, I could see where some of those tools might be useful. But if you can tell me anything that is similar to me, well, you'll be the first. So when it comes to envisioning an audience, well, I don't. And if you're, in fact, an audience right now, either be doing something productive while listening to this so that this is not an exclusive activity, or stop doing this and go have a life. Go do something active. Go do something active. Anything active. Just do something active. Active would include making cookies. Active would include jump rope. Active would include painting a chair. Do something active. That's my advice in life. And that's the only advice I really have. So once you've heard that, everything else I say is just nonsense and as I like to say, bullshit and baloney. Or maybe it's horseshit. I don't know. Baloney and horseshit? If you're eating baloney with horseshit on it, that's a lot like what listening to me is like. So the titles. The thing is, on YouTube, I think I could use they're tools to create unique episodic titles in the descriptions for the YouTube channel. I hesitate to have anything of variance in the universe that makes you run into me one place and it says this, and you run into me here and it says something else. I like consistency. So I probably won't touch anything because, frankly, if you care enough to figure it out, the metastructure is there. It just doesn't avail itself in a, hey, if you're new to my channel, let me tell you the things you want to know about my channel. Top 5 things to know if you're new to my channel. Will never, ever, ever be a topic of conversation. And what I hope is that I just live a blip of existence on YouTube where nobody finds me there. But if I want to send somebody to look at a video because it's easy, I can send them a URL and say, hey, this is something that I know you can click and listen to. So in that way, I kind of like it because you don't have to have the whole podcast thing set up. And you don't have to deal with the crappy podcast players. You can just go to YouTube. So the titles to me, yeah, I would change that. That is the one totally different thing I would do. I would title them with intent after re-listening to them and figuring out what the overall tenor of what I'm trying to get at is about. I should have considered that just ending with, that's more money than you have to get the Loch Ness Monster, helps nobody at all. And it doesn't even help me. And the person most pissed about the titling, I promise you, is me. Because I can't keep them straight. I don't fucking know what episode's what. I have no idea. I just go listen to stuff. And that's essentially what I've burdened anybody who has even a moment of interest in trying to pursue something else about me through these recordings. Well, they're eventually just going to have to be like, I guess I'll just listen to this one. Who knows what the fuck it's going to be about? And that's the truth. And that sucks. So sorry about that. But in general, they're all about the same thing. Me. So what'd you expect? Another thing that you certainly want to do if you're going to succeed and grow your channel on YouTube is you got to have every 25 seconds a reason for somebody to still be watching you. Because people today do not have the kind of tolerance for even an entire this episode right here, yeah, edit that shit out, bro. Why you leave that shit in? There is no editing. I don't edit. Oh, and I guess that would be another reason that my channel will not succeed on YouTube, because damn, are there some good video editors in the world today. Those of you who grew up with video as a medium are very talented at presenting video content that is, frankly, compelling. There's reasons things go viral. Most of it is because y'all are talented. And the story art form that video allows as its own unique medium in which to work, I'm daunted. I'm lucky I can put my 8.5 by 8.5 framed handwritten note that is a still photo up, and you all are editing content in jump cuts, and it's impressive. But it's not something I'm ever going to have enough interest to either acquire the skills or even attempt the art form. I'm not artistic, as you may have gleaned, but I am persistent. I am content prolific, and I am willing to speak down and around and up and through all aspects of an idea with clarity and precision as much as I can offer that. And I don't know that there's a whole lot of that on YouTube. And that's another reason that I would never, ever, ever tell you to smash the fucking like button or to subscribe to my fucking channel. And there are a few subscribers. I'm not going to tell you not to, but I will at some point cultivate a message to the YouTube audience that I am only available as a podcast sourced YouTube presence, and that limitation is intentional, and to be expected alongside of that is all the clumsiness and downright anachronistic lifestyle that you put up with if you want to listen to anything that is about me. So again, I'm not going to have a thumbnail editor on staff who can come up with really clever thumbnails so that when you're scrolling through all that clutter on YouTube, you think, oh, what was that picture? Oh, well, this might be interesting. Nope, you're going to see the same goddamn picture, just in different tint. You'll know it's me because you'll think, who the fuck would let that even be there? That's not, can you even read that? I don't even know what that says. Is it handwritten? Is it a note? Is it a picture of a note? Oh my God. Who is this person? Well, yep, that'll be me. So I've never liked a video. I'm sorry. I just have never done it. I've liked a lot of videos. I just have never hit that little thumbs up button. And I've subscribed to 4 channels, and I've subscribed to most of them for at least 3 years. And, that's it. 4. And they're nothing like me. One of them is Uncharted X. One of them is a woman in LA who helped me with the Mandela effect when it was happening. And one is Nikki Anna Jones, who is phenomenal. And one is, and Jimmy Corsetti. But he's more on Rumble now anyway, so what am I still following him on YouTube so I can only see half his shit? Come on, Jimmy. It's more interesting than YouTube, which is, again, what I find fascinating, that what I can talk about here, like sentient, well, that's not, I said I would never speak of that again. I can speak of Sandy Hook, though, apparently, without retribution. I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole Sandy Hook stuff, but the fact that I can even say Sandy Hook without having to qualify it as a place in Connecticut where very fine people live, well, that's good. That's progress. So maybe I will persist on YouTube longer than a month, but maybe not. Probably not. I also will never edit my presentation. I know it's tedious. I know it's hard to even recognize that this is what I make you put up with. So if really it's that bad, I would say you probably had enough already. And frankly, why aren't you doing something to improve your own life? Which is hopefully what you are doing. Let's see, what's the other? Oh, and I don't want to present myself as fearful. There are channels on YouTube that are dedicated to making sure that the presenter doesn't have to appear. I only saw this in the how to make money on YouTube like vein of stuff, but what are the non-presenter channels? I think they're called. In other words, people who don't want to be seen on screen. That's not me at all. Like, I have tons of pictures of myself. I am happy to email you a photo of me and even my dead dog, not my dead dog, but back when she was alive. Phoebe or Frankie. I don't have any pictures with Frankie, but I have pictures of her. My point is, the reason I'm not on YouTube isn't because I'm even clumsy in front of the camera, though that's part of it. The reason I'm not on YouTube is because it wasn't a voice that was me. Now, what's gotten a little interesting in the last couple weeks as I've done all this is thinking, I wonder if my last season, which I think will be season 12, I wonder if my last season should be video. And exclusively video, just distributed on YouTube. Maybe. I might do that. But it would be a decision that now that my voice is established, I'm capable of being myself on YouTube. I wasn't until now. So the fact that this is a podcast of clear and intentional media purpose doesn't mean that video wasn't where it all started and how I thought it was originally going to go down. So I'm still tempted by the whole idea of like bopping around in real time and doing all this and seeing how I look. But I'm also totally fine not being that. In fact, I know I'm better received if I'm not seen and just heard. So since most of my purpose here is to clearly communicate, the idea that video starts to tarnish that veneer is real, especially for me. So I don't need to be on YouTube. I don't need to be on video. But I do need to express myself clearly and with purpose in a way that is as real a me as I know to be. And unfiltered, uncensored, uncouth, unlistenable, all of that. But it's me. And it's me in a way that I can reflect back and know I wasn't being anything other than the real me. And for me, that's why I get value out of this. Again, how you get value out of it? Not sure. Okay. I think that really does get me through most of the list here. Women speaking for themselves. Yeah, women can speak for themselves. I try not to speak on behalf of women, but I'll get into the next recording more of the thread of stickiness that is and why I'm pulling it, but I don't want to do that right now. What I will do though now is I will apologize for even bringing up the conspiracy theory fringe topic of HAARP weather related interference in the Boxing Day tsunami. It was not my intent. I just wandered there mentally. I don't believe any of that shit. I'm not apologizing on the behalf of the CIA or anything right now at all. I just feel like there were a lot of people whose lives were completely derailed that day. And they live on the other side of the planet. So on my side of the planet, where that event, horrific as it was, had no direct impact, I feel very cavalier about insinuating anything other than the heartbreak and the extinguish humanity level pain that the other side of the globe is still dealing with from that day. Again, I've had a very cushy life. I live in the softest existence, at least according to some of my friends. I am Muppet comedy low in my motivation and achievements. But that doesn't mean that I don't recognize when I've overstepped a bound and maybe gotten a little too playful. And I think I was a lot too playful when I was referencing those kinds of references, because there are some things even I think deserve respect and not my pinpointed nonsense conspiracy drivel that I'm prone to throw at almost everything. So for all of the people affected by anything that Americans take as lightly as they tend to take everything, well, I can't apologize for all Americans, but I can apologize for myself. So I will try to be a better global citizen than maybe I've been my whole life, since now I know some of the globe actually listens to me. That's crazy. But doesn't mean I don't find a whole lot of value in that exchange. The idea that we can now speak to the world, it hadn't really hit me until these last 2 years doing this. But hello, world. You're the best. Pause. Dobre utro, universe. I don't know any Russian. Well, pravda. I know that word. Do svidaniya, I think, is Russian, maybe. But I know Dobre utro is definitely Russian for good morning. And since it is 6:54 in the morning here on the 8th of March, Friday, and wouldn't you know, finally on the 8th of March, February decided to show up because, oh, did it get cold last night. There is some serious frost on the ground outside, just from the air itself, I think, getting cold enough for the water to crystallize and fall to the fucking turf. Because it didn't snow, but it is icy. So, yeah, we had that kind of night, and with those weather reports now finally coming to a close here on Friday, February February 8th. It's March. It's March. It just feels like February. Here in, what are the Ides of March? There's one term I have zero idea what it means. No idea. I just know the term. But much like, menstrual cramps, what Ides of March are completely out of my realm of existence. But I'm not going to talk about menstrual cramps and the pain of the life of women today, I don't think. I'm torn over my appropriate versus inappropriate blunderbuss of a entrance that I make into realms of talking to women about women's issues. And there are two reasons that I would ever even think that this is conversationally appropriate. One, I will have heard a discussion, mostly a discussion probably between women, about a point of gender identity that I would either have come to have thought, wait, am I misunderstanding all that then from this point of conversation? Or it would reinforce something that maybe I had subconsciously recognized but had never heard put to voice, and thus would feel of some level of conversational contributor to that occurrence. I'm never ever trying to pretend that the identity of woman is something that I can even really understand. Lately, I can't understand it at all. I thought I had my shit together when it came to understanding women in about 2007. That's probably when it peaked. By 2012, I was questioning everything. That was probably the one area of life I wasn't questioning, was the male-female dynamic. And little did I know that that was the ticking time bomb that was waiting to go off in the in the late teens and into the 20s that still leaves me with absolutely no idea how that's going to get fixed. I haven't even come up with if we could just have the electrical grid go down so that nobody could charge their phones and there was no Wi-Fi and there were no computers that worked except for people who had battery stashes from being weird. Well, yeah, maybe that would help. But it would hurt so many other things like food and shelter and life that it's just not worth it. It's not worth actively knocking down our electrical grid just so we can have some level of recovery about our identities and the sharing therein between men and women. And yet, if that's what it's going to take to ensure that that fixes itself, I'm not saying we couldn't do it, maybe even shouldn't do it. But if China's listening, I'm not inviting you to do it. I'm just hypothesizing here on original situations that, having arrived, might need cures and solutions of the out-of-the-box thinking variety. And so what I'm going to do is run down to the lobby and grab myself a macchiato. Does anyone else need one? And then I'll be in the conference room by 10 for that meeting that we're all having regarding the censorship issues on YouTube and what we're going to do about them. So be right back. Macchiato, anyone? Pause. And now a word from my insecurities. It's one thing to not care what I say into this diatribe in any fashion whatsoever, to feel embarrassed by it. I And I've listened to some stuff and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I even talked about that. Holy shit, why did I talk about that? But it is what it is. If someone had asked me a question that was relevant to the material that I had just spilled out of my mouth, well, I would freely talk about it. It's just sometimes I think, boy, I'm freely sharing a lot more than is normal. And normal's not a good use of wordage here. Usual, communally traditional, as demonstrated historically by others who have gone before me. Well, not like Jesus and those others, but, the people from the 30s. And I'm thinking, okay, but to be fair, it's optional. I'm not coming into your living room during your dinner hour and sitting down in the corner with a microphone saying, whew, Durban poison. Man, have I had enough of that today, huh? Pause. And in its optional status from your end, ye listener of extremely obtuse podcasting materials, well, yeah, it's optional. And I'm sure you option out of this plenty. I option out of it. I option out of it while I'm talking. And really, that's the part that I'm here to say is the insecurity side of me. I don't really know what the first 5.5 minutes of this were. I looked down at the phone counter and saw 5:32 and thought, wow, I've been talking 5 minutes. I don't even know about what. And I don't know about what. We could replay the first 5 minutes and I could reacquire the thread of continuity that got me from A to Z. But as it's happening, what's really going on in my head are I'm constantly trying to get to a point of conversational completion, making an argument or a statement of foundational veracity or however you want to nail it down to say, this is what I think and this is why I think it. But often I can maybe get, this is what I think, without, this is why I think it, in the same conversation. Or I can get, this is why I think things, but I can't necessarily correctly enunciate my own personal stance on something in the same concept of thought train. And I so am sorry for this, that I even have to think these things, because this project is now finding its way into places where, well, let's just say I never had an intent here of being exhibited in a public domain. And yeah, that's a lot my fault for not thinking that through. But let me chug some yogurt here. Hang on. My mouth is dry. If what I want to document is essentially the version of myself that realized an embodiment of self-love. I hate this term. I wish I could come up with a better term. And it is comfort that all of who you are, from the potential megalomaniacal presence of ill repute to the most cherished saint-driven presence of society's ever known, all of the grace of God, as well as all of the downfall of the devil, are yours. It's you. It's always been you. And maybe this run of earth has you steadfast about your loyalty to your I don't know, your best friends, not your family. Let's just say that. Your coworkers, maybe. Your your what do you call your squad? Are you a squad when you're in the army? What are your people in the army? Like those people, I didn't have any entrenched life experience because college is just camp, and it became possible. It became such a significant moment of togetherness to overcome whatever it is that the obstacles are in your squad's immediate vicinity. Boy, am I speaking terribly today. There's another thing that is makes me insecure is when I realize in my head that I'm trying to find words that I'm not finding, so I'm using other words, and then I start to think about and that's where I just lose my trains of thought. I can actually start a sentence and then finish it wrongly, and not a long sentence. Although in a long sentence, I can do that 7 times. And I even sometimes I'll say, here are the 3 things that I most believe about this. And I have just figured this shit out in the bathroom, for instance. And I come in to push the recording button, and the second and third one are new ones. I just make them up in real time as a mishmash of what I was just trying to think through. And then I go find written on some mirror and lipstick the 3 things I actually meant to say. And it's like, oh yeah, those were the 3 things I came up with. Oh well, I like the way I put it anyway. And I guess that, more than anything, is what has revealed itself to me as this process has finally found its almost 500th episode, is that eventually I get to everything I want to say. I either remember it later, it comes back to me in a new redirected thought in a way that, oh yeah, I was going to bring this up earlier, but this is an even better way of looking at it. These loops close up. My entire life is like I'm throwing random fishing lines in all directions, and then whatever's nibbling the most interestingly is the line I chased down that day. And because it's always mattered to me to be able to pursue my interests without interruption, which I know is unfair. I know that's not something this planet likes people to do, to have the sort of prioritization in their life that it's not about achievement as much as it is about experience, and especially for men. And when I was talking about the conversation I had with my friend that left her somewhat, I thought, ill-informed as to a large chunk of my life's existence, not just the ne'er-do-well version of me, but there was a do-well version of me. Well, her true critique was that I live a life in a bubble of Muppet stupidity, and elect this life because it is it's as if I'm not up to the challenge of the gritty life that other people are carving out and fucking month after month getting more and more stressed about. And this would include the kinds of things like getting promoted at work and being maybe finding a leadership role in your church, or just I don't know, getting the kids to school or something. I don't even know. I don't know what it is that I would have to start doing for my friend's opinion of me to look like I was more pursuing achievement than I do now. I mean, how many people write a novel? Seriously. How many people say they'll write a novel, and then how many people actually do it? And I think about 70% of us at some point say, I'm going to write a book about blank, or I'm going to write a novel, or, when I finally get around to writing my novel, or whatever it is that is your sense of, I got some shit to say to this world, so don't think I'm above putting it on paper in narrative structure form with characters from Middle-earth. Yes, my name is J.R.R. But if your sense of accomplishment, achievement, merit, maybe, measuring up, for sure, is zoned in on what the values America presents in terms of achievement, etc., well then, yeah, I want nothing to do with it. And so in this slightly emasculated form, it means I'm not competitive. I don't want to be the boss. I never have wanted to be the boss. I'm happy to be on the committee that's making decisions about what's going on around here, but I'm not going to be telling everyone else what the fuck to do with themselves. I don't even like being in a management position because so much of that involves telling people how to fucking behave. I'm open to a discussion about what proper behavior standards might be in the workplace, but I am not about to tell you how to behave ever, unless your behavior is so egregious that it needs to be contained. And at that point, you're forcing me into a situation to say, hey, buddy, why are you throwing all that cotton candy at everybody? I mean, yeah, it's kind of whimsical, but where'd you get all the cotton candy? And don't you see the recklessness in your behavior and how we're all getting sticky and now I got to go home and shower? I mean, why are you doing this, man? If I ran into somebody who was, just throwing the cotton candy around, as it were, well, I would probably ask them, whoa, what are you doing? And so while that isn't necessarily what absurdity I see in behavior around me in real time, it's close enough that I don't see how that's not everyone's first instinct, is to shut the fuck up until something is annoying enough it has to be addressed. Otherwise, everyone's doing their thing as best they can. There's no room for my points of nuance in your life. And when my friend was trying to tell me that she thinks I'm soft and an underachiever, and frankly, showing very little energy of chutzpah, maybe? What is it when you want to get up and get some shit done? What is that energy? Apparently I have none of it. And I don't. I mean, I'm always thinking about getting up and getting some shit done, but I am never one to speak to the world who I am. I'm one to do shit, and then you'll figure it out. And I'm so confident that the shit I'm doing is not bass-ackwards or in some way counterproductive or in another way annoying to people, because I've spent my life attending to pleasing other people to the point that I even gave them realities that were more accommodating than the ones that might have actually been in real reality land. There's no level to which I wouldn't have been willing to sense your discomfort and fix it. And that's ultimately where some of my tales about academic intensity from my youth, and intensity's not a fair word. I don't know how you can escape being formed by the traditional expectations that your nuclear family household placed upon you. If in your household all kids did their own laundry, well, then you've been doing your laundry since basically you could reach the soap on the shelf. And so there is no issue of stain on clothes that you're not comfortable with, or there's no issue of delicate handling of items so as to maintain their integrity at all for you to have to deal with. Man, why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about laundry? Because if you grew up in the house next door and your grandmother was living in the basement and did everyone's laundry, including ironing and starching your little tighty-whities as a fourth grader, well, all of a sudden, you have a completely different thought about where all these folded clothes in your drawer come from. I mean, you have magic elves, and then you have reality. And if, when you leave for college, grandma doesn't move into your dorm room, well, the first 5 months of washing your own clothes will be filled with mishap. And this isn't anything of interest per se, but it's a point of emphasis that separates all of us in at least household related origins. And so much of what we do in terms of our interactivity with the world is just simply based on our interactivity with our nuclear family. How we were treated and how we treated them becomes our almost by default mechanism for treating the world and being received. And so having been challenged as leading a life of a simpleton, I had no, and I have no problem with people telling me criticisms. As a matter of fact, I invite them. I ask people, what's the least likable thing about me sometimes, just to hear something that maybe I'm not thinking about. Because all the stories I tell myself are the ones where I'm on the make. I'm doing better. I'm improving in every way. And yet I know that's not at all the reality. So sometimes just getting a little third-party criticism can give you a lot more reference for measures on which to meditate and maybe think to improve than just, well, let's see. Oh, if I were going to do something for myself this year, what would I do? Well, I'd probably give myself more time in the massage chair. That would be better than doing this recording stuff that's so mediocre. All right, 23 to almost 24 minutes. I'm not proud of any of this. Matter of fact, I am going to stop right now and listen to all 24 minutes and figure out how bad it is. If you're here, well, what if no one is here? What if I have already alienated the entire audience? Well, then how am I going to tell you about all my channel killing mistakes that will always be a part of what I do here on YouTube? Because, I have that list today. I realized that I have one very clear theme in my life that I can't deny. And that is, I've always made the universe accept me as I am on my terms. And I don't give a fuck what that means for the universe at large in terms of how I'm received. Because I have no reservation whatsoever about the fact that my value in this community exists as I want it to, and as I demand it to. I expect to be the sort of citizen that you are looking to encounter in whatever random civic situation we might find ourselves. I never feel like my behavior is anything other than extremely appropriate and very concerned about everyone's welfare around me. I am just built that way from growing up in a household where those priorities mattered. And if you're a kid and you're learning how to make your world navigate in the most tranquil format well, you start to do what you can to make sure you are pleasing the people around you as much as possible. So, now I haven't talked about that, plus laundry. I didn't even bring up masturbation. Well, I mean, I don't think I did. This, what is this? I mean, I have been up for 3 days, so that's problematic. This feels like day 3 of a Coke binge, but I don't do Coke. I don't even have any money. If I had big Coke, I'd have to be a Coke whore. Pause. And wouldn't you know it? But the longest recording by far, I'm now adding a third part to the end. Well, yes, I am. Because obviously another reason that YouTube will eventually hate me is that some of my recordings are longer than most movies. And this is an example of that. And here I am gratuitously tagging on because what? I don't care about my audience and the time that they want to get shit done in their life? Okay, well, number one, I don't think anyone is still listening to this. And number two, if you are still listening to this, well, then the idea that we are susceptible to becoming that which the world around us wants us to be, even if we think we're doing the right thing, like cultivating an audience of like-minded people in a universe that's gone askew and all over the place when it comes to who and what opinions are even considered true or valid anymore. And I mean, there is just enough chaos that it seems if we're going to be as authentic as we can, then it has to be in no way, shape, or form concerned with the recognition of another. Uh-oh, was that a car accident? No. It just has to be. It has to be for you first, and yet it can't be about you. It just has to be for you. Again, there are some conundrums that the 21st century American landscape is providing that I did not see coming. And since I said I'd stop talking about that on YouTube, well, no more coming for us.